Now, switching topics, and officials from Denmark, Greenland and the United States are set to meet next week to discuss the Trump administration's renewed push for control of Greenland. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has warned that a US takeover would mark the end of NATO. With Copenhagen and Washington trading accusations, how do Greenlanders themselves feel?
Donald Trump is raising the stakes on Greenland.
We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
The leaders of Greenland's 5 political parties responded with a joint statement, saying, "We would like to emphasize once again our desire for the US's disdain for our country to end. We do not want to be Americans. We do not want to be Danes. We want to be Greenlanders." Even before the military threats, Trump was coming on too strong for many Greenlanders.
Greenland have been invisible before Trump. With the Trump, it's visible. In the beginning, it's very good, but now it's a little bit too much. So he pushed the bottom too hard.
He keeps saying that he needs to make Greenland better, but we are the most greatest without you, actually. We're doing fine. Look around. We are in peace.
The sentiment doesn't just concern the US, but Denmark as well.
We have been at a colony in so many years. We are not ready to be a colonized again. But to work with another country does not mean we will be part of it.
Greenlanders even have their own version of Trump's red hat. It reads,
"Enough is enough. We want peace. We don't want Greenland to be for sale."
On the streets of Greenland's capital, Nuuk, it's pretty clear.
We are not for sale, ever, never, ever been, never will be.
All right, for more on this topic, I'm joined now by Marisol Maddox, who is a security analyst at the Institute of Arctic Studies and a leading expert on Arctic geopolitics. Welcome to DW News. So Donald Trump says that if the US doesn't have control of Greenland, then Russia or China will take it over. How realistic is that scenario?
Yeah, so there's no indication of an imminent takeover by Russia or China. Actually, if you look at where we're seeing the increase in Russian and Chinese joint military activity in the Arctic, which is intensifying, that's actually off the coast of Alaska. We're not seeing that around Greenland. And ultimately, if President Trump is saying that he wants to deter Russia and China, the absolute best way to do that is to maintain one of our key strategic enablers, which is the NATO alliance. It's tested and proven. Our allies have unquestionably shown up for us. After 9/11, the U.S. was the only country to invoke Article 5 of the NATO treaty, and our allies showed up. So really, we have the mechanisms in place. If there are specific concerns that the U.S. wants to address, we can do that based off of respectful dialogue and engagement that doesn't challenge the sovereignty of our allies.
All right, well, the U.S. also already has a large military base in Greenland. Now, under the current agreements, how far could Washington expand its presence without fundamentally changing the legal or political framework?
Yeah, so in the past, the United States has had many bases in Greenland. It was the choice of the United States to abandon those because it just didn't make sense given the threat environment at that time, after World War II, and then especially after the Cold War. it just didn't make sense from a resource perspective. Now, with things changing and the Arctic becoming an area where we are seeing growing, strategic challenges in the security and geopolitical domain, if we want to be reassessing that, then, absolutely we can do that. We have a permanent committee that is a specific forum for the United States to meet with, Copenhagen and Nuuk to discuss those very issues. And Denmark has already said that they're going to be investing almost $14 billion into new capabilities, platforms, radar, things like that in Greenland. So they're really stepping up and responding to the changing circumstances.
Right, but despite what you're saying, Donald Trump has said that the US will take over Greenland the easy way or the hard way. That's his quote there. Now, if you look at the political and the legal realities, what are the most plausible paths then that this could actually take?
Yeah, so it would be a massive strategic misstep with irreversible damage if the United States actually took military action against a NATO ally and invaded Greenland. I know there's going to be the meeting next week with Rubio to be discussing, some of the options on the table. I would just say that it really needs to be grounded off of the very clear language that has come out of Greenland, saying that, Greenland is for the Greenlanders. They don't want to be Americans. And from the basis of respect for their sovereignty and the Self-Rule Act, that they are able to make decisions, based off of cooperation.
Now, we don't have a huge amount of time, but you mentioned Greenlanders there, and I really want to bring in Greenlanders, of course, because they're the ones who live there, the ones who would be most affected by what we're talking about. Is this, on some level, an opportunity for Greenlanders to, I don't know, maybe they could, I don't want to say get something out of this, but is this something that could be an opportunity at this moment that we're in at the moment?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of attention on Greenland right now, and it's giving them the opportunity to step up and have more of a voice in an international space and to assert for themselves the future that they want for themselves. Right. And so it certainly has amplified that ability. And we've also seen, as there has been some concern about, U.S. moving in a certain way, it's actually brought them closer to Denmark in certain ways. That relationship has been able to address some historical harms.
We're going to have to leave it there because we're running out of time, but great to get your thoughts. Marisol Maddox from the Institute of Arctic Studies. Thank you very much.